All right, so I normally don't do this kind of video to where I'm like responding to something a director says or something an actor says. And that's even not exactly what I'm doing here either. But Denis Villeneuve, who I do really like most of his movies, said some very strange things today about movies and dialogue. And I'm not necessarily responding to him per se, but I think it kind of sparks a general conversation about dialogue in movies that I find very interesting and that I want to give my take on. And I also want to better understand your guys' takes on it as well. So let's just go ahead and get into the quote. I'm going to read the exact quote. So he says, "Frankly, I hate dialogue. Dialogue is for theater and television. I don't remember movies because of a good line. I remember movies because of a strong image. I'm not interested in dialogue at all. Pure image and sound, that is the power of cinema, but it is something not obvious when you watch movies today. Movies have been corrupted by television," which that last line, I don't even understand what he's trying to say there. But obviously, the reason I'm making this video is that I completely disagree with basically everything he said there, and it doesn't even seem like he's just stating his opinion. I mean, he straight up says that dialogue is for TV and theater. What? So, one of the most celebrated directors of the modern era says that movies don't need dialogue. That is just a very strange take to me. And again, I really like most of his movies that I've seen. I'd say 4 out of the 6 that I've seen, I really like. And in particular, I think that Arrival and Sicario and Prisoners are incredibly dialogue driven and have great dialogue, which makes this all the more confusing until you realize he didn't write those movies. He just directed them. He co-wrote both of the Dune movies, and maybe that's why the first Dune did not really resonate with me, why I felt like I was at arm's length the whole time, because he just flat out says now that he doesn't care about dialogue and that movies are all about the image. Don't get me wrong. The image is definitely important. Movies are a visual medium. So that is a huge, huge part of, what makes a movie good or worth watching. But to me, and this is just me, and this is the way it's always been for me, plot and character go way above that and go above anything else. And a vast majority of the time, plot and character development comes through dialogue. So that's probably why I just did not connect with Dune and why I'm very worried about Dune 2. I feel like I'm going to feel about the same way as I did about the first one. So I'm like, oh, that makes so much sense. He wrote those 2 movies. He didn't write Sicario and Arrival and Prisoners, which all have great dialogue and are, for the most part, very dialogue driven. There's certainly other elements in there that make those movies good, but like the one scene that always stands out to me in Sicario, I don't want to spoil it, but it involves Benicio del Toro, and it's towards the end of the movie. That's almost entirely dialogue driven, and it's the best and most memorable scene in the movie. So this is just a very strange take to me, and it also made me come to a realization about my movie tastes. And this is where I really want to get your guys' thoughts, because I found this really interesting, because it seems like a lot of people actually agree with him, and that's why everyone loved Dune more than I did. It seems like a lot of movie fans, I don't know if I want to say most, but a lot of movie fans and critics seem to care more about the technical aspects than I do, or even care more about the technical aspects than anything else. This also serves to explain why I don't like Mad Max Fury Road as much as most people. I think it's incredibly overrated, and it is absolutely a visually focused movie. There is hardly any dialogue. There's basically no plot and character development. And those are the 2 most important things for me when it comes to movies. That's what I take away. That's what I remember. I do remember a good line, and he obviously doesn't, which again, that's just difference of opinion, but that's why I wanted to talk about this. I mean, you take some of my favorite movies of all time. Seven, you got the bar scene between Morgan Freeman and Brad Pitt's characters. The Dark Knight, there are many great choices there, but I would go with the interrogation scene over anything else. Inglourious Bastards, one of my favorite Tarantino movies. You have the opening scene and the bar scene, both incredible, and they build tension so well, all from dialogue. Unbreakable, one of my favorite movies of all time, is almost entirely dialogue. 12 Angry Men, one of the greatest movies ever made, and I feel like a vast majority of people agree with that, is all dialogue, nothing else. It is just people sitting in a room talking, and it is incredibly compelling and effective. I just made a video essay about Collateral, one of my favorite movies of all time. The conversations that Max and Vincent have in the cab about like someday my dream will come and stuff like that. So compelling, really sticks with me. A lot of times, my favorite scene from some of my favorite movies will be almost entirely dialogue driven. So I think dialogue is incredibly important to flesh out the characters, to move the plot forward. And I understand that visual storytelling is a thing, and there are rare occasions where visual storytelling really works for me, and one of those is Star Wars Clone Wars, the micro series from Tartakovsky, who apparently he's the king of that because he also did it with Samurai Jack, which is also really compelling. So maybe he's the only person that can do that in a way that works for me. It also certainly helped that I was already invested in those characters from the movies. So generally, though, I need dialogue, and it's so helpful to hear these people talking to each other. And when there isn't dialogue, you're missing out on the character development. You're missing out on plot. And I'm just sitting there, and even if I'm admiring just the technical aspects of the movie, how great it looks, talk about something like Dune, talk about something like Mad Max Fury Road, I am at arm's length the entire time. I'm just totally disconnected from what's happening. No matter how good it looks, you also need to get me to care. You need to get me to be invested in what's transpiring. And you usually need dialogue to be able to do that. So I think that dialogue is incredibly important for movies. Even like my favorite action movies, like the Mission Impossible franchise, all have great, compelling dialogue. So all my favorite movies, basically every movie that I love, has interesting dialogue, and that's really what tethers me to those movies and keeps me interested, because when you don't have that, I'm just going to be like, yeah, this looks cool, it sounds cool, but I don't care about any of this. This is boring, this is tedious. So I say all this to say, a lot of people seem to disagree with me on that. Technical aspects seem to be the most important thing for a lot of people when it comes to movies, and that's why they rate movies like Dune and Fury Road much higher than I do. And I want to get as many people's thoughts as possible in the comment section. I really, really want to know what you guys think of this. How important do you think dialogue is for movies? Because I know there is going to be a lot of people who disagree with me, who think that visual storytelling can be just as effective as storytelling with dialogue. I generally don't agree, but I know a lot of people feel that way. And if you do, let me know. I want to get different perspectives. If you agree with me, let me know so that I'll have vindication. But I want as many of you to comment as possible and give your thoughts on this, because I think this is a very interesting conversation. And I'm glad that he said this, even though I completely disagree, because it sparks a really interesting discussion about the importance of dialogue in movies. And I've made my stance very clear at this point that I think dialogue is absolutely essential for, I don't know if I want to say any movie, but for a movie to be like a favorite of mine, for to be a movie that I really love and one that sticks with me and I think about a lot and rewatch a lot, generally has to have good, interesting dialogue. So what are your thoughts? Drop a comment below. I'm super interested to see what everyone thinks about this. I really did this on a whim, and I don't know if I'll get it out tonight as of when I'm recording this, the day of Denis saying these things. Maybe I'll end up getting it out tomorrow. But anyway, thank you for watching, and if you like the video, hit the like button. Likes are super important for helping me grow my channel, pushing my videos out to more people. Even if you disagree with me, If you enjoy this conversation and liked what I had to say, please do so. It's super, super helpful. If you want to see more of this kind of stuff, well, I don't know how many of these specific types of videos I'm going to do, but if someone says something like this in the future, I'm probably going to comment on it. I generally won't comment on things that directors or actors say or whatever. I generally just lately have been doing either ranking videos or, doing video essays, analysis videos, whatever you want to call it, about some of my favorite movies. And there are definitely more of those coming. So if you want to see some of that stuff, subscribe, hit the notification bell to get notified when I post a video. Stay tuned. I got some more stuff coming. See you soon.